welcome everybody back to Who's Your Band. Listen, everybody, we are now on Podster Entertainment. We switched from Be Terrific to Podster. So people are listening. If you could resubscribe on our channels, on wherever you're listening to podcasts, we really appreciate that. But without further ado, let me introduce my co-host, as always, Mr. Sean Morton. How are you, Sean?
My cup says it all to you, buddy.
Fuck off high. Okay.
Yeah,
very
there you
nice.
go.
Really Christmas spirit. All right. We're not going to waste time with you. We got two terrific guests here today.
Exactly.
Let's introduce them. We have from TV, from movies, as you said before, rock and roll legend, Mr. Bobby Rydell. How are you, Bobby?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. I'm watching the Birds right now, the Philadelphia Eagles. They got the ball, and I think they just got a first down. And now we got Jalen Hurts in there. So, we'll see what happens.
Now, nobody but Giant fans listen to this show. So, just so you know.
Yeah, the Giants flew the coop today.
Yes, they did. But we also have another guest with us from Gas Digital, Mr. Ralph Sutton. How are you, Ralph? Thank you for joining us.
How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Oh, what great pipes on this guy.
Jesus Christ.
Bobby, by the way, it's an honor to meet you, sir. Big fan. My family's a big fan.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we have two unique things in common.
What is that, Ralph?
You were in Bye Birdie.
Correct.
I was in Bye Birdie in my 6th grade play, so there's that.
Were you Hugo Peabody?
You know what's so weird is that so they call the main guy was Conrad. Am I right? I mean, it's been a long time. Conrad Birdie.
It was supposed to be like an Elvis Presley, and they called him Conrad Birdie. Yeah.
And I have a twin brother. We look nothing alike, but they couldn't decide, and we couldn't decide who was going to be Birdie, so they called it the Birdies. And my brother and I were both the lead singer, so we both played Conrad Birdie. And then also,
this was in a high school play.
6th grade. I was 6th grade. It was not
okay.
A kid. Yeah.
Cool.
And then you were in the movie Grease. They named Rydell High after you.
I wasn't in the movie.
I know, but
my dear friend Frankie Avalon.
Right, but the name Rydell High was named after you. That's why they called it Rydell High.
Truthfully, Ralph, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's true.
It could have been Presley High,
true.
Anka High, Fabian High, Everly High.
But it was Rydell High, so it was named after you. And then
yes.
I actually have seen Grease, so there's that. So we're, got some...
Ralph, I'm gonna see that.
It really is such an honor. Oh, the Eagles are on the 4-yard line, going in for a score. 2nd down on the 4.
They're going to score. Bobby, me and you.
Well, we don't know.
Me and you also have something in common.
What's that?
I'm getting this out of the way early, Sean. You were in the movie The Comedian with Robert De Niro.
Yeah, I was on the screen for about a half a second.
Okay. Well, I was in the movie The Irishman with Robert De Niro.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we have that. So I just had to kind of one up Ralph there.
Who had more screen time? Did you or Bobby? Who had more screen time?
I did.
Yeah, Ralph.
I had a couple of
Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah, what you got to do, Ralph, if you want to see Jeff in The Irishman, fast forward to the 7-hour and 14-minute mark, and that's where he makes his debut.
Oh, God.
All right, so we're off to
Wait a minute, there's a flag. I don't know. There's a flag. I don't know who it's on. The Orleans or the Eagles. I don't know.
What are we doing here? Bobby,
This is your ship, Captain. Go ahead.
Here's the
thank you, man.
Holding on the defense.
This makes for great radio.
Okay.
It really does. Oh, want to hear this type of play-by-play going on.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm such a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I've been
man, I get it.
Older since 1963.
No, nobody's perfect, Bobby.
Thank you.
But Bobby, know what I want to ask you?
Much.
You as a kid, you grew up in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. How did you get your start in show business, and what age did this all come about?
My dad, if I had any talent within me whatsoever, my dad saw it at a very early age. He used to take me around the nightclubs when I was 7, 8 years old. asked the club owner, can my son get up and sing a couple of songs and do some impersonations? So basically, at a very early age, that became like my vaudeville. And it kind of got me ready for things that were going to happen later on in my career, you know? And it was all because of my dad. God rest his soul.
Great.
That is really cool. Now, Ralph, you said you're a fan of Bobby. So the first hit was Kissing Time. Do you know the song
Correct.
Kissing Time?
I remember the cover. Was it Volare? Am I right with that? That was a big one.
His
Right.
version, Bobby, your version of Volare and Sway are the two big covers that you did that I think are just off the charts. I mean, Dean Martin.
Well, I don't know. Excuse me, Jeff. I don't know if they were covers. You know, the first guy who wrote and recorded Volare was Domenico Modugno. And then Dean Martin recorded the song, and then I recorded the song.
Yeah, back then that was very common. There would be a song, and everybody would do it. Yeah, the cover's the wrong term.
They weren't covers. I just happened to be in. We were in New York City at RCA Recording Studios, and I recorded 3 songs there. We were supposed to put them out on an album, and the 3 songs were Volare, Sway, and Old Black Magic. And I was just coming off a song called Swingin' School, and we needed a song. And Bernie Lowe, who was the owner of Cameo, which later became Cameo Parkway, he went back and he listened to the tapes that we did RCA. He listened to Volare, and he put the 3 girls who were always associated with me with the whoa, whoa, yeah, yeah, Bobby, oh. And we released it, and that became my second million seller.
Wow.
How old were you when you recorded Sway?
Eagles just scored. Way to go, Birds. Okay, now it's now with the extra point, it'll be 24-14 with 6:22 left in the game.
This is going to hold up so well when this podcast comes out.
Yeah. And by the way, we do nothing in post.
Yeah, this will be out tomorrow, so it'll still be fresh.
We had some graphics and everything. How old were you?
It's the end of Wentz.
Sure. Remember the Ron Bloomberg episode?
He's over.
This is the Ron Bloomberg episode.
But they got to pay him $34 million next year. Get him the hell out of there.
I was lucky enough, Bobby, to grow up with a parent who greatly appreciated that whole 50s and 60s era. Being somebody who started in that era, what was it like to see the progression from like the late 50s, early 60s, which is really kind of a happy era in music?
Absolutely.
It was very fun. It was very safe.
Absolutely, Sean. Yeah.
And it still holds up a lot. What was the progression like seeing like when the Beatles came through and then you seeing like sort of like the changeover in the way music was taking?
A funny story about that. Back in 1963, I was in the UK, and that's where I recorded Forget Him. And that was the latter part of 63. I recorded Forget Him for Pie Records. And there was a girl by the name of Helen Shapiro, who was a very, very fine singer from the UK. And we were doing a tour throughout the UK. And it was about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. We were on a bus, and there was a car in front of us. And Helen Shapiro said, "They're the Beatles." Well, this is 1963. I'm looking around the bus for cockroaches. I don't know who to. And they all came on the bus. They knew me, and I figured, well, they were 4 nice guys. They're gigging. They're going to do a club date somewhere, yada, yada, yada. And then 64, I'm home. I'm watching Ed Sullivan. And he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles." I said, "I met those guys." Yeah, but to answer your question,
and now you can buy their CDs at a gas station anywhere.
Bobby, you know what I had heard? I heard that Paul McCartney said that he was inspired to write "She Loves You" by hearing one of your songs. Do you know which song it was he was referring to?
You know what? There's so many questions going about that. They're saying we're swinging school. Yeah, go swing in school. Ba-da-da. But then I think McCartney said they wrote like a song that kind of like, how am I going to say this? Forget him if he doesn't love you, forget him. And then they wrote "She Loves You," yeah, 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 kind of like a song that went, back and forth from "Forget Him," "He Doesn't Love You," to "She Loves You," yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know if it was "Forget Him" or "Swingin' School."
Now,
I don't know.
your first big hit was "Kissing Time."
Correct.
And okay, now when I heard that song, I think the first thing that kind of came to mind to me was it had a very Buddy Holly and the Crickets type of sound.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, I do, because I want to know if you were influenced by Buddy Holly, because then I think one of the next big hits yet wound up having was "We Got Love," which is a very, very different sound altogether. And then when you combine something like what's that song you had, the Wild One, your biggest hit?
That was
Okay,
my first million seller. Yeah,
yeah.
1960.
To me, that song reminds me of the Bob Gaudio song "Short Shorts." So yeah, you have a lot
She
of
wears
different.
short shorts.
Yeah,
I still
that-
very
that-
often, by the way, I still wear short shorts given the right timing.
I was actually hoping that you were going to be donning them tonight, Ralph.
Rafa, you're wearing them right
uh,
now.
Too cold out.
If you guys remember the Dick Clark Saturday night show, Beach Nut Spearmint Gum.
Jeff
There's
does.
one every
Jeff's
Saturday
the oldest
night.
person on the show.
Right. So
Yes, I did comedy on that show.
I did the show, and I did "We Got Love" on the Clark show. And coming back to Philadelphia via the Jersey Turnpike, Dave Apple, who was my arranger for Cameo, and Cal Mann and Bernie Lowe basically wrote all of the songs. They wrote all the lyrics. So we're in the backseat of a limo, and Dave Apple had a pipe in his mouth and his guitar. And he's saying, "When we get back home, Bobby," he says, "this is the song we're going to record." And he started.
Right now, that riff right there, that doesn't remind you a little bit of Short Shorts?
She wears short shorts. You know, you got a good point there.
I always felt unincluded because it's just she wears. There was never any he wears, and that really upset me.
That was an alternative version. Back in the West Village days, in the late '60s, early '70s, there was that version.
Yeah, I hope so. Can I ask a question to Bobby? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ralph.
I think it was 2 years ago, that movie Green Book, that somebody portrayed you in the beginning of the movie.
Correct.
That movie won an Oscar. How did you feel about that portrayal?
I met, his name is Von Lewis, a really sweetheart of a guy. And Tony Lip, he was one of the bouncers at the Copacabana. And I worked the Copacabana. I was the youngest guy to ever work the Copa. I was 19 years old. And I met the guy in Atlantic City. We were doing a show at one of the casinos there. And he's really a sweetheart. And I wished him all the best, all the luck in the world. And if you remember when the movie opened, guys are walking into the Copacabana and they're saying, Bobby Rydell, I knew him. He was a kid in South Philadelphia and nobody knew him. And then his friend says, well, everybody knows him now. And then they go to Von Lewis doing Old Black Magic, which was a hit record for me back in 60, 61, And he's a sweetheart of a guy, really a nice guy, and a pretty decent singer as well.
It's a great movie. So I wonder if when that movie came out, because I think it won something, right? And won the Oscar.
I think it won the Academy Award.
I think it won Best Picture.
When that happens, do you see an uptick in your sales? Because of people my age or younger that may have not thought about you in a while, or people in their 20s or 30s that may not even know you, they see that portrayal and they're like, let me go look that guy up. Do you see an uptick in sales?
Not really, Ralph. What I do now in my shows, we play a film clip of the Green Book, right? And as they're playing the film clip, when Von Lewis starts singing Old Black Magic, bop, 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 and they're playing the film clip, and the orchestra behind me is playing the riff, bop, 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 and then the thing goes down, and I said, Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you know that film won the Academy Award for Best Picture of the Year, movie called Green Book. A gentleman by the name of Von Lewis played me, Bobby Rydell, at the Copacabana. If I may, I'd like to sing that song for you now. And the band is still vamping over what I'm talking about. And then we just go into that a black magic has made it's but I wouldn't say it did, more or less, for the career.
I don't mean for the career. It's interesting because, you're probably not super into Spotify and checking your streams, but I know that for certain bands that I've interviewed on my show, when there's a big moment in a movie or a TV show that goes to the level that Green Book did, they see their streams go up because the younger people will say, oh, let me go check out who that guy is or what the story is behind that song.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. I really don't know, Ralph.
Thank you. That's what I'm here for.
I don't know. I can't answer that. Let's face it. That movie came out, a couple of years ago?
I think 2 years. I think 2017, 2018.
2 years ago, yeah. So
such a great movie. By the way, anyone's never seen that movie, go see that movie. It's a great movie.
And Tony Lip and I, we were dear friends. He was the bouncer at the Copacabana.
I have one more question, and I'm sorry I don't mean to hijack the show, guys, but I feel like it's a.
No, please.
I mean, you were the guy. I mean, 60s. You're the man. Million singles. Million records sold multiple times over. Are there any super famous starlets that were in your romantic past that you can talk about?
There was, let me see.
Like Lola Falana or something, you know what I mean?
Why Lola Falana?
I don't know. It's the first thing that came to mind. What can I tell you?
There was one girl that I did a layout with, when they, like for motion picture, 16 magazine, yada, yada, yada. And we had a thing going before I was married to my first wife, Camille, God rest her soul, and her name was Barbara Parkins, and she was a dynamite looking girl. I forget the show she was on. You guys probably remember. Oh God!
What was that show?
It was a television series. Barbara Parkins was her name.
Yeah, sure.
She was in the Leave It to Beaver and the Untouchables. I just Googled it.
No, not Leave It to Beaver, not the Untouchables.
It says it right here. She guest starred on Leave It to Beaver, the Untouchables, Perry Mason.
No. There was a big hit series, Valley of the Dolls.
Oh, Valley of the Dolls. Yeah, there goes.
Valley of the Dolls. She was on that. In that, yeah. Barbara Parkins. She was gorgeous.
I'm looking at her picture right now. Good job,
definitely a looker. She was definitely a looker.
Oh, absolutely.
Beautiful, thanks for using the proper terminology of the era, Sean.
Yes. Later pictures, not so much, Bobby. You got out.
Apparently, at the time, she was also known as the bee's knees.
Yes.
Speaking of lookers, though, Bobby, you were also in Bye Birdie, and you worked with Anne Margaret. Yeah. And Dick Van Dyke. How was that?
And to this day, let's face it, guys. I did that movie back in 1963. I was 21.
Wow.
And Anne Margaret was 22. And to this day, we're still the best friends.
Wow.
I call her, she calls me. How you doing? She calls me, how you doing, Mr. Rydell, which is my real name, right? How you doing, Mr. Rydell? And I say, how you doing, Kim? And the last time we spoke was when Roger Smith passed away, and they were married for 50 years. And Roger Smith was 77, Sunset Strip, And I gave her my condolences, and I said, oh, my God, Bobby, thank you ever so much. But you remember how sick he was. And I said, I certainly do, Anne. But we've been friends since 1963. That's quite a few years ago. It's 17 years now.
How did you get Bye Birdie, by the way?
Matter of fact, I went out and I screen tested. I screen tested with Anne for the director, George Sidney.
Who else was up for that?
I think Bobby Vinton was up for the role. I'm not quite sure, but I think he was up for the role. Anyway, Anne and I screen tested for George Sidney. We read a couple of lines from the script, so on and so forth, and then you just talk into the camera to see what kind of personality you have, how you come across on screen. And then Ann sang, one boy, one special boy. And I sang one girl, one special girl. And George Sidney said, okay, thank you ever so much. We'll be in touch. I went back home to Philadelphia, and my manager at that time was a man by the name of Frankie Day. And he said, you landed the part of Hugo Peabody in the movie Bye Birdie. Wow. I'm not a movie star. I've never been a movie star. But if there's one picture to be associated with, which is a classic, such as Grease, is Bye Bye Birdie.
Or The Irishman.
Or The Irishman.
One of these guys.
Here's something. So Frankie Valli has this great career. They make a musical, which is one of the biggest musicals of all time, with Jersey Boys. But now he's also selling limoncello cake on QVC. So what would you sell?
Yes. Doing that?
Yes. What would you sell on QVC if they approached you?
Let me see. If I was on QVC, I would scatol and beans.
Scatol and beans. Very good. Nice Italian boy. Nice Italian boy right there.
I don't know what that. What is that? What is that first word? I don't know what that is.
It's Italian slang for escarole.
Oh,
yeah.
escarole.
Well,
okay.
yeah, right. Everybody says escarole. But if you're Italian, you call it scatol, not escarole. That's like some people say calamari. It's not calamari. It's calamad.
Calamad.
Sure. You say it so violently, Bobby. You scared me a little bit.
Oh, excuse me.
Really
did. Sorry. I didn't mean to hurt anybody.
Still keep in touch with
I'm a delicate Jew. That's what it is. It scares me a little bit.
So Ralph, let's talk about you for a second here. So Gas Digital, in my opinion, the best format for independent comedy radio right now. But you also had a very successful syndicated show in the Tour Bus. Why don't you tell us how you got started into radio?
Sure, I'll make it as quick as possible. I was a strip club DJ, and I knew that I always wanted to do radio.
Which strip club were you in?
I mean, I was at all of them, Pure Platinum and Lace and Scores. I was at all of them. But at the time, I was at a Lace in New Jersey, and the new daytime guy was a radio DJ. So I told him, I'll teach you strip club DJing. You get me an audition at the radio station. And it happened. I got a job at the radio station doing midnight to 6 in the morning. And then I pitched the idea of a show, which was playing 80s rock, because I'm a child of 80s. And at the time, in the late 90s, nobody was playing, Guns N' Roses or AC/DC or Kiss on the radio. It wasn't done. Yeah. So I pitched the idea 2 months into doing radio, and they said, okay. So within a year of never doing radio, which I started in September of 98. In January of 99, I had my own show on the channel in WNNJ in Sussex, New Jersey. 6 months later, I moved it to the #1 station in New Jersey, WDHA. And then 3 months after that, I got a syndication deal and eventually got the show to about 100 stations across the country from Maine out to Hawaii, and did that for 15 years of rock radio.
Wow, from Maine to Hawaii.
Yeah, it was all over the country. We had 500,000 listeners every weekend. And I got to interview every band I've ever loved, be it of that era, of that 80s rock era, Kiss, Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith. What do you love, Rob? All that. I mean, I love, there's only two kinds of music, good and bad. And I can find music I like in every genre. I don't play favorites, but I made a living in rock for 16 years, 17 years.
Who are some of your favorites?
I'm not a superlatives guy, but if I had to pick, there's a band none of you are going to probably know. Well, Sean might know them, but there's a band called Queensryche that I loved very much.
Are you crazy? Of course we know Queensryche.
Okay.
Jeff
Queensryche was one of my favorites.
They're amazing. Take Hold of the Flame.
Those guys.
Well, I didn't think you would, Bobby, but they're a later.
I don't know those guys.
They're a later band, but I mean, I grew up loving everything. I'm excited to watch the Bee Gees documentary today. It just came out.
Absolutely,
just watched
absolutely wonderful.
I just watched it before the show.
Yeah,
I tell you, it was one of the
wonderful.
best documentaries I've seen.
I can't wait. I mean,
I totally agree, Sean.
I love all kinds of music, and also like my phone will have. So I'm playing like random music on my phone. It'll go from Barbra Streisand to Slayer. Like I'll listen to anything. Like I just love music, and I'm always looking for any sort of musician, singer, rapper, whatever that I get inspired by, and it can be in any genre. I never know what's going to speak to me.
Absolutely.
But I did that for 15, 16 years. That was my job. I was independently owned. I never sold to any of the bigger networks that offered us, because I wanted to program the music on my own. I wanted to interview who I wanted to interview and play what I wanted to play. But 6 years ago, it became obvious that radio was dying. So I started my podcast.
Yeah.
You could kind of see the logo right here, SDR. And the show blew up. And then I started the network 4 years ago. And now we get about, I don't know, 5 million listeners a week on the network. It's pretty crazy.
That's amazing. And I reached out to a mutual friend of ours, Ralph. He was one of our first guests on the show, Scott Lynch. And Scott worked with you on the tour bus for a very, very long time. Scott's one of my best friends. And I said, going to be interviewing Ralph today. And can you give me some embarrassing stories? And he goes, yeah, give me a few minutes. I'll get back to you. And that was at 2:00.
Oh,
so since he dropped the ball on that, why don't you give me a really horrific Scott story?
A Scott story? Yeah, sure. So Scotty, for a couple of things about Scotty, he is a quintessential Irish guy, right? Where he drinks and does all the things that Irish people are supposed to do, drink Guinness and get angry and all that stuff. And every week on Tour Bus, a new guest would come into the studio, whether it would be someone from a big band like Kiss or AC/DC or Lemmy from Motor, any one of these guys or new bands, whatever. The same thing would happen every week. Scotty, because I'd be on air, Scotty would go out to go meet them and get them into the green room and get them set up. And then he would come in and say to me, what a fucking asshole. Like he immediately didn't get along with the person. And then eventually they would be nice people. But just Scotty had like this inner anger to immediately not like people for whatever reason. Right. And
I'm sorry, Ralph, but to let you know now, it's 24-21 Birds with the Saints just scored a touchdown. It looks like it's going to be an onside kick right now.
I will tell you this. Like I know absolutely nothing about football. It means nothing to me.
It's an onside kick.
Crazy.
So we were in South Dakota, and I was hosting.
It looks like the Saints. It looks like the Saints recovered the ball.
Thank God.
Oh no!
Is that a good thing?
Thank God.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just taking a shot. I mean, God damn it! Is that better?
There's a lot of people around on the ball. We don't know who's got it. Let's see what the referee says.
By the way, it sounds like last night in my bedroom. A lot of people around the balls. I didn't know who had them, but it eventually worked itself out.
So speaking of Scott.
Scotty. Come on, ref. Give me a sign for crying out loud.
We were hosting the Sturgis Rally, which is a big motorcycle rally out in South Dakota.
Right.
And I tell my staff the same thing every time. Look, when you're here, when you go do things with me, be it Shiprock or Sturgis or M3, whatever I was hosting over the years, you're representing the show first and foremost. So make sure you understand that, because it'll reflect on me if you do something bad. You follow that?
Sure.
So we're hosting the Sturgis Rally. He was drinking whiskey and partying it up a little too much. And on the way back, the radio van that picked us up out there, he has his head out the window, puking along the highway the entire ride home. That's Scotty.
I appreciate that so much, because I will be calling him and bashing him at 8:02 with his.
Yeah, please do, because it was an embarrassing moment.
To see who's got the ball over here.
So, you were talking about upticks with Spotify with Bobby before. One thing I noticed too was the great interview that you had with Sebastian Bach a couple of months ago, which made headlines because
everywhere,
everywhere, because of your co-host, which is another fellow comic, Jay Ogerson.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
So I will cut it down again, and I'll cliff note it for everybody. Sebastian Bach was talking about his, which, by the way, Bobby, I could ask you this. I asked him about, he is 50-something, the singer, Sebastian Bach, who still has a phenomenal voice. And I asked him about what he does nowadays to keep his voice sounding great, what type of warm-ups. And he said every day, whether he's singing, performing or not, he warms up. He treats it like any other muscle. It is an instrument that needs to be tuned. So he warms up every day, right? I don't know if you
absolutely.
do that. Do you do that as well, even if you're not performing?
Oh, absolutely. Every time I'm in the shower. Years ago, there was a guy in New York City. He was my vocal coach. His name was Marty Lawrence. And I called him the professor. And we used to do, like scales, but we would do scales like Andi Felice, Andi Felice. So when I'm in the shower, whether I'm working now, of course I'm not working now, but when I take a shower, I vocalize in the shower.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Are you
absolutely.
saying this because you want us all to picture you naked?
Well, whatever blows your mind, I don't, whatever blows your skirt up,
Sebastian went on to talk about that the only singer he knows that doesn't warm up his voice is Rob Halford, who's the singer of Judas Priest, and is known for the last 30 years to be a gay man. And Jay made a joke saying, well, maybe it's something gay that he does to warm up his voice, and he just didn't want to tell you.
Well, it's a funny story. I do a show called The Golden Boys.
Okay.
And that's with my two dear friends, Frankie Avalon and Fabian. We've been doing it since 1985. And we were all born and raised in South Philadelphia. We're all Italian. And we'd be, backstage, and I hear Frank going, ah, and I do something like, ah, and we hear Fabian going, grunt. And that's his vocal. Yeah, that's what he does.
That's his warm-up?
Grunt.
The word grunt, or he actually grunts?
No, that's what he does. That's how he sings, Fade. Grunt.
Let me ask you this question, Bobby. The fact that I can't sing at all, is there anything I could do to make myself sound somewhat passable?
Let's see. Sing in the shower. What the hell kind of question is that? How can you make yourself a better singer?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Well, do you sing?
No, I do not. I've always wanted to sing.
Forget about it.
Yeah, I'm too old now.
Well, then what the hell are you asking me that question?
Well, you are a legendary singer. Maybe you know.
Yeah, because I'm a singer and you're not.
That's true. It's very true.
The acoustics in the shower always do make your voice sound a lot better, because I sang for a very long time.
This is very true.
I sang for a long time, and I was a very horrible singer. I freely admit that.
But you always sounded good in the shower, right, Sean?
Right now, let me tell you something. I would definitely top the country top 40 if I had the right producers behind me at this moment.
Is it weird that when Bobby yells at me a little bit, I get nervous because of his tough guy persona? I'm not
a tough guy. I'm not a tough guy.
No, listen. If you're like, how old are you, Bobby?
I'm 78.
78-year-old Italian guy, born and raised in Philadelphia. Look, we're not going to say anything, but
he's seen some shit. He's
killed somebody. He's definitely killed somebody in his lifetime.
Or he's definitely killed somebody adjacent.
Let me tell you something, guys. When I was born and raised in South Philadelphia, and none of the guys around the neighborhood, we never had gangs. We never had anybody like this, right? If you fought, nobody had a knife. Nobody had a gun. You fought with your fist. And whoever won the fight, whether you won or you lost, after the fight, you shook hands and you became the best of friends. None of the bullshit that's happening today.
Maybe that's what we're missing, Jeff. Maybe I should just beat the shit out of you, and then we'll start being
shake hands, and we'll be the best of friends.
You know what's funny? I am 6'5". I'm a big guy, 6'5", 260, big guy.
I don't want to meet you in an alley.
In my whole life, I've never been in a fight, and I've never knocked and said no to a fight. Like someone, 2 or 3 times in my life, someone decided to come up to me and they wanted to start a fight with me for whatever reason, right? But I acted like I wanted to fight, even though inside I was crying. I acted like I was really ready to fight. And they see a 6'6" guy, big guy, not scared to fight every single time they back down. But inside I thought, I'm going to cry. I'm going to lose this fight if it goes past
I understand that, Ralph, because, I'm not as big as you. I'm 6'3", about 340. So I'm a little huskier than you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
But in freshman year.
I'm only 5'10", 168.
Well, that's good.
That's not bad.
The thing is, he's in the best shape out of all of us.
That's very true. Very true. In freshman year of summer school, my friend was doing chewing tobacco bandits, those little skull bandits.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was a great idea when he walked away to open up his tin and take 4 of those little bandits and put it in his iced tea and swirl it around. So when he came back, he would take a nice swig and everybody would have a good laugh. He took a nice swig, and he also decided to punch me in the head. I still feel that, and that was the first time I took a punch and the last time I took a punch, because
I've never taken one.
That is when I realized that I should be able to talk my way out of anything.
And
I've been doing that for the last 31 years.
You know what, Sean? When I went to high school, I went to a high school called Bishop Newman High School in Philadelphia, South Philly. And, you know, we were going through orientation, and we had an Italian priest, and he said, anybody going out for sports? And I raised my hand. He said, what's your name, son? I said, Rydell, Father. He said, what are you going out for? I said, swimming. Okay, so now the bell rings, and we're going into study hall. And from the back of the study hall, I hear a guy goes, he say, there goes Johnny Weissmuller. Right? And a friend, he befriended me. His name was Anthony Parecca. And he said, tell him you could beat him anytime. I said, I'll beat your ass anytime. So now the bell rings, and this kid, his name was Freddie Fantazzi. He was from 8th and Christian in South Philadelphia, which was a really tough neighborhood. And the guy says to me, I'll meet you outside. I said, okay, I'll be there. So Parecca says, you going to fight him? I said, he asked me outside. Win, lose, or draw, I got to fight him. He said, he's crazy. I said, he's crazy? He said, yeah, he's nuts. Oh, he's crazy and he's nuts. He said, he carries zip guns and lead pipes in his school bag. Well, when the next bell rang, I became very friendly with Freddie Fantazzi. You know, you want to fight, that's one thing. Don't hit me over the head with a lead pipe and a zip gun, you know. Jesus Christ, I'll tell you.
Bobby,
What a great way. I'll tell you, what a great way to grow up in South Philly. What a great way.
Philadelphia is still one of my favorite cities on the planet. I will tell you. You can go
Good city. Good
My
city.
co-host Big J is from Philly, so I
Yes,
mean,
he is.
he's a
Absolutely.
big Philly guy.
Go
Bobby,
to,
can I ask you another question? I looked while we were talking on your Wikipedia page, and it seems like the last time you recorded an album, unless it's wrong, was in the 70s. Is that wrong? A new album was
You know
in the
what?
70s.
That's a good question, Ralph. Wow. It could have been. I'm not quite sure. I think the last, it was a label called Pickwick, and I recorded. We did Sway, but we did a disco version of Sway and a disco version of Wild One. But that was like.
It had to be the 70s if it was a disco version, because that was when disco was big.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, matter of fact, yeah, it was early 70s, like 70, 71. And matter of fact, they were, you know, nothing ever happened with them, but they were good disco versions of both Wild One and Sway. You know, when I do Sway, it's like boom, ba ba da ba 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 da 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 da. The disco version was boom, 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 ba ba boom, ba boom, 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 boom. You know, when your lips are rhythm bad, it was really a great version of Sway.
But don't you think that, you know, one thing I could say, though, if you haven't really recorded anything in the last 35, 40 years, and you're still going out and performing, and you're still having, you know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that are coming out to see you, it does show the longevity of the era of your music that you performed in.
Yeah, well, let's face it, Sean, it's 60 years now, you know, since 1959. My God.
Why would you not release at least like live versions of your album, of your performances and stuff, or do you? Of like new performances, so that people that are still coming to see you could see a modern version of what you're doing.
Oh yeah, like doing a video of my show. You know, I never really thought about that, but that's a damn good idea. Because
we'll take 10% for that. Just
Ralph, have you ever been an agent for anybody before?
Not only, you know, when I do my show, you know, just by myself, not with Frankie and Fabe, when I'm a single, the headliner. Of course, I do all of my hits, but I do a lot of songs from the American Songbook because I've been a Sinatra fan ever since I was 10 years old. And we'll do songs like I've Got You Under My Skin, I've Got the World on a String. I do a whole medley of Sinatra songs from Only the Lonely, which I think was one of the best ballad albums that Mr. Sinatra ever recorded. And we do, you know, Angel Eyes, What's New, One for the Road, you know, it's 2:45, there's no one in the place, yada, yada, yada. And but I never really videotaped any of my shows.
Well, I think you should, sir.
You know, yeah.
And also, let me ask you this, because there's been, at least in the last 2 decades or so, some croonery kind of modernized singers that are in the steps of a Sinatra or whatever. Do you ever seek out these people and see what they sound like a Harry Connick or whoever?
I'll tell you what, Ralph, there's one guy that I would really like to do maybe just one song with. And his name is Michael Bublé.
Great, yeah,
I
he's great.
adore Michael Bublé. And the song that introduced him to the public was Sway.
Right.
Yeah,
I remember
that was
yeah.
his first song. And I would just like to do his version and my version. You know,
How cool would that be? A duet of you two? That would be cool.
I would absolutely, because I adore Michael Bublé. I think he's such a fine singer.
When you said there was just one person you'd really like to duet with, for a brief second, I thought you were going to say me, but I was wrong.
Oh, well, let's do it, Ralph.
I was hoping it was Tom Araya, but that's just me personally. Ralph, one thing I want to mention too is, we've been Facebook friends for a while. You're an amazing chef on top of also having the golden voice. Let's talk a little bit about your book that has just come out.
Oh, where is it? Hold on a second. Let me grab it.
I have it already here. It's the 100% guaranteed guide to weight loss and fitness.
That's it right here. 100% guaranteed guide to weight loss and fitness. Guaranteed to work, everybody.
It is an amazing, it's an amazing piece of literature. Me personally, since I was the age of 12 or 13, I've been able to read somewhere between 600 to 700 words a minute. I pride myself on that, being able to read a book, usually within a couple hours or so.
Impressive.
This one took me a long time to get through, Ralph.
Really?
It did. It took me a long time to get through. What was your inspiration for writing this book?
Well, the truth is, I lost about 50 pounds over COVID during this time because I gained a lot of weight after my father passed away a few years ago. I got depressed and ballooned up to almost 300 pounds, 296, and now I'm about 250. Getting close to back to where I want to be. And on my other podcast, I do two shows. SDR is on twice a week. The other one, which is a health and wellness show, is on once a week that I do with this guy from a big company here in New York called Juice Press. And we would bring on a lot of health and wellness experts. And I culled all of their knowledge together and decided to put out a book that really guaranteed you will lose weight and get in shape. And I'm going to show it to everybody. You've streamed this on YouTube or something, or
yes, we do this on YouTube. Okay. We're on all formats.
So it is called the 100% guaranteed guide to weight loss and fitness. Chapter 1 is eat less. Chapter 2 is work out more. And the rest of the book is blank. And I guarantee you it will work for you. 100% guaranteed.
Yeah.
It is a brilliant concept.
It is available on Amazon. It's available at Barnes & Noble, hard copy only. And I guarantee you, I was thinking about putting out an audiobook that was going to be 3 hours long and only had 2 seconds of me saying those 4 words, and then the rest of it would be blank audio, but I don't think I want to do that.
I like how Ralph is starting to talk about health and wellness as Bobby's lighting up a cigarette. Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself how Ralph had ballooned to 296 and how I would murder my mother in Herald Square if I weighed 296 right now.
Well, it's funny. I was the same weight my entire life. I was always about 240. And then when my dad got sick, I got depressed and I got to almost 300 pounds. 296 is the most I ever weighed.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Which is just for me everybody's weight is relative to their own life struggles and whatnot. But
I saw you light up a cigarette as well, right?
Not me.
Yeah, why not? Because
Sean.
Why not? With 44 and hypertension and being 150 pounds weight.
You can't see it right out of frame here. I got my new Peloton bike.
Years old. The first time I started smoking, I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much do you smoke?
If you didn't smoke in South Philadelphia, you got the crap beat out of you.
How much do you smoke now, Bobby?
Pack and a half a day.
Jesus.
Hold on a second.
I do.
Bobby, you smoke a cigarette.
I'm sorry.
But in 2012, didn't you undergo a double organ transplant?
Yes, I did. Yeah, a new liver and a new kidney.
I was gonna say they're probably lungs. That's why you're smoking a pack and a fresh new pair.
You know what? I go to my pulmonologist. We go every 6 months, and you blow in the tube, and it goes up to like 90, 95, and I take CAT scans on my lungs, and they're clear as a bell. And the doctor says, "We got to write a book about you." I mean, you defy everything, on this earth. You blow, your lungs are clear as a bell, and I said, I don't know, Doc. I said, I feel great.
Do
I
you
really
eat well?
feel.
Do you eat clean, or do you eat whatever you want
I'm
to eat?
sorry, Ralph?
When it comes to your diet, your food, do you eat well, or you do eat whatever you want to eat?
Whatever I want to eat. Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
I think so.
But
I think you're just made from better stock. That's what it is.
I
old
would
stock.
imagine so. I guess so, Ralph.
I have a small container of yogurt, and I'll be shitting my bed for like a week. Not just a week.
Oh my God! Oh my God! We call it in Italian "falagagad."
Well, you know what's interesting about Bobby is like 6 months after double organ
Right.
transplant
Yes.
surgery, he's back on stage performing.
6 months later, I was in Vegas. Yeah.
Wow. I had
That's
an ingrown
amazing.
toenail one time. I didn't step foot on stage for like 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, that's me.
Because you don't come from good stock.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
There was a very dear friend of mine, and his name is Lucy O.C. We grew up together. We were next door neighbors, and I'm a month older than him. He's a fine trumpet player and a barber. His trade is a barber, but he loves to play trumpet, and he's a good jazz trumpet player. And after I had my surgery, he had an 18-piece band at a place called the Clef Club in Philadelphia, which was a jazz club. And I'm a jazzer. I've been a jazzer, I guess, most of my life. And I said to Lou, I said, hey, Lou, I said, could you put the band together? I'll fly my drummer in from Chicago. I would like to see if I can do my show. And Louis said, no problem, Bob. We got 18 pieces, 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, 5 saxophones, piano, bass, drums, rhythm, guitar, percussion, the whole 9 yards. And I went out there and I did my show. And I was blown away with myself, to tell you the truth, because I hadn't sung since the surgery, which was 2012.
Wow.
And about, maybe 3 months after the surgery, I had 3 of my dear friends, Alan Slutsky, who was a coordinator with me on my book, Bobby Rydell, T-Night on the Rocks, Tale of Second Chances, a bass player by the name of Craig Thomas, and a guy who used to play drums for me, Joe Nero. And they came over the house, and I said, guys, I would just like to, try and sing some songs. And we, and none of my records, nothing like Volati or Wild One or Swing in School or, so on and so forth. We did songs like Shadow of Your Smile, I've Got You Under My Skin. And it was tough, and I'm singing like, I've got you under my skin, I've got you. And I turned to Craig Thomas, who is the bass player, and he's a marvelous bass player. I said, come on, Craig, man. Tell me the truth. What do I sound like? And he went like this. I don't know, man. Sounds like Bobby Rydell to me, man.
By the way, you said before that I gave you an idea to record your live show. And you mentioned here that there's a guy that is a horn player and also cuts hair. So I'm going to give him an idea to combine the two and open up a place called The Cut and Blow. And I think it would do well.
Sounds cool. I like that, Ralph. The Cut and Blow.
Please feel free to steal all my ideas.
Yeah, my friend Louis, when I call him up, on the phone, if he doesn't answer the phone, because he is a jazzer, and he says, hi, this is Lucy O.C. I'm sorry we didn't get you, and remember, man, just keep on swinging. Yeah, that's his.
I have to say, I've never heard the term jazzer before. I don't know. I guess that means you're into jazz music. Is that what that is?
Absolutely.
Are you into brazzers as well?
I'm into brazzers more than jazzers.
Okay. Bobby, 100% living in Philadelphia your entire life, never lived anywhere else?
I now live up, out in the suburbs. Yeah, I'm still in, Pennsylvania. From originally born in South Philadelphia, we moved to the suburbs, a place called Penn Valley, And now I'm in an area called Bluebell, Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, by Lancaster.
You know,
how many shows you do in a year at this point in your life?
At this point, we're not doing anything.
But I mean, pretending that the world was normal. Let's say last
the world
year
was normal. I would say I'm on the road about 8 months out of the year.
Wow.
You know, a lot of the shows with Frank and Fabe, and of course, you know, shows of, you know, just doing my single show.
When you're doing the shows with Frank and Fabe, do you guys duke it out over who headlines? You mix it up? Like, how does it work?
Nah.
You rock, paper, scissors it?
I'm sorry?
Do you rock, paper, scissors it and figure it out right before stage?
No, come on. Rock, paper, scissors, my God, you know.
That was Bobby saying, we never did that. We never did that in South Philadelphia, rock, paper, scissors. Are you kidding me?
Bobby, this year, in 2020, you got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
From what I believe, Jeff, a dear friend of mine who's a singer and he has a big band, his name is Dave Damiani. And he called me, he says, Bobby, we're going to get a group of people together and we're going to get you a star on, you know, wherever, Hollywood Boulevard, you know, the Walk of Fame. I said, hey, man, I said, that sounds great, you know. Now, it was supposed to happen, I believe, like this past July.
But why didn't it happen years ago? Why is it happening now?
You know, who knows? I don't know. Jeff.
All of a sudden, in 2020, they decided to give Bobby.
My God, I don't know. Yeah. So, because of what's going on now, I think it will probably happen. When? I don't know.
You are one of the most famous people from Philadelphia. I personally am the third most famous person from Bayonne, New Jersey. And Jeff is the 4,263rd most famous person from Staten Island. That is a great accomplishment.
Love Staten Island.
Oh, don't ever say that, Bobby. Please.
I'm sorry.
I'll cut your Zoom off so fast.
Excuse me, Sean. I'm sorry. Bayonne,
you got to really hope.
Island.
You know what you got to hope, though, when you get that star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, that it's in front of a good spot, like in front of the Chinese Theater or somewhere where it's a tourist trap instead of where it's like, you know, in front of one of the ghetto crack houses.
Or maybe a Wawa, you know, or a 7-Eleven, you know, what the hell.
It's still it's a very, very big accomplishment, though.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, besides Michael Bublé, you listen to any of today's music? Anyone who you listen to?
Not at all. No, Jeff, not at all. When I'm in my car, I put 50s on 5, 60s on 6, WIP, Sports Talk Radio, and Seriously Sinatra. That's what I listen to.
Sean, I have to disagree with you because it apparently Ed McMahon, George R.R. Martin, and Frank Langella are all from Bayonne, New Jersey. So you are the fourth most popular person.
Actually, I'm the fifth. Chuck Wepner, the inspiration from Rocky.
I thought Ed McMahon was from Philadelphia.
No, I just Googled Bayonne, New Jersey. Most famous people.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Yes, he is, unfortunately.
He used to have a show in Philadelphia called 5 Minutes More. Ed McMahon went on 5 minutes to 12 at midnight. And the theme song was "Give Me 5 minutes more, only 5." And I did the show with a guy that I did an impersonation of. His name was Frank Fontaine. And you guys would probably remember him on the Gleason show as Crazy Guggenheim.
Ralph, you're thinking the guy Fontaine from Grease.
Oh, probably who I'm thinking of.
No. He was a comedian, and if you remember, on the Gleason show, he was Crazy Guggenheim, where Jackie Gleason would call him out and say, "Hey, Craze, come on out here." And he would do a bit, you know, hi, Joe, hi, you know, and he had a great tenor voice. He had a marvelous tenor voice. But when I was 10 years old, I did the show with Ed McMahon. And Frank Fontaine was on, and he did, at that time, the character was called John L.C. Savoni. When he was on the Gleason show, he became Crazy Guggenheim. But the original character was John L.C. Savoni.
I hated him.
And I was 10 years old at the time.
Oh,
I actually...
Bobby, you enjoyed him? You enjoyed Crazy Guggenheim?
Absolutely. I adored Frank Fontaine.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
You remember him?
God. He was...
Jeff?
There was... I remember seeing repeats, and he was a guy... I couldn't stand. I found him so the opposite.
I know
of funny
exactly what you're talking about.
Are you kidding? Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I knew it. That's what we call a lob pitch right there, Sean.
Well, I'm still striving to become the most famous person from Bayonne that's living. I got the honor of producing and performing on the roast of Chuck Wepner, who was the inspiration
Chuck
for the movie
Wepner.
Rocky.
I saw his documentary. Was it called like Chuck or something? Was that what it was called? I saw that.
Liev Schreiber played him, and I was lucky enough to have Liev at the roast.
Poor Chuck, he took more shots than any prize fighter ever do in my
Well, his
life.
thing was he bled better than any other boxer. He was the Bayonne bleeder.
Yeah, the Bayonne bleeder. That's
And I actually,
exactly right. Exactly right.
I asked
Jeff.
him very politely if he wouldn't mind dying in his sleep after the roast so he could become the most famous person. But he's still kicking, unfortunately. So. But listen, this was
He's still alive, isn't he?
He's still alive. Yeah, he's 81 years old. He's a big guy, and
God bless him.
Easily kicked my ass. So I hope he's.
Oh my God!
Well, he doesn't have internet because every time I had to communicate with him,
the Bayonne, like you said, Jeff, the Bayonne bleeder. That's what he was known.
Yep, him and Dwayne Bobbitt were two white boxers who bled better than any boxer I've ever seen before. That was their claim to fame.
I want to thank both of you for coming on this show. This was a very interesting episode. Bobby, where can people find you on social media? And
just go to BobbyRydell.com.
Okay.
You know, I'm sorry.
I'm going to friend you on Facebook because I want to hear more about these googly eye stories.
I also can't believe we've gone 10 minutes without a football stats update.
I know, it's amazing.
Is the game over?
The Eagles beat the Saints.
Okay.
Eagles beat the Saints.
That's a big
first time
for the Redskins won. They beat San Francisco, and the Giants lost.
Everyone in the Giants division won today, except for the Giants.
So, I mean, the NFC East, or what they call it, the NFC Least, is such a goofy division. They all stink.
Ralph Sutton, co-owner of Gas Digital, some amazing shows on there. Some of my favorite shows to watch on there. Please buy his book, The 100% Guarantee Guide to Weight Loss and Fitness. You can get that on Amazon. What else do you want to plug, Ralph?
Follow me everywhere at I am Ralph Sutton. Follow the SDR Show everywhere at the SDR Show. Gas Digital everywhere at Gas Digital. And then, of course, my other show that's about health and wellness is goodsugar.life. And that comes out every Monday. But thank you so much for having me, guys. And Bobby, an honor to meet you, sir.
Hey, Ralph, thank you. It's my pleasure. It was really a gas, you know.
And I look forward to doing that duet. I look forward to doing that duet with you sometime.
Hey, man, it was a gas, man.
It really was.
Thank you, guys.
Jeffrey, always a pleasure.
Same here.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, listen,
John,
we appreciate
buddy.
your time. Thank you very much.
No
like I said, everybody, at the beginning
anytime.
of the show, please subscribe. Please subscribe. It helps us out so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Sean, do me a favor. Put a few more magnets on your fridge when you get a chance.
Oh, we'll talk about that later.
Oh my God! It just rang. I just saw that. Wow.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, as we say in Italian, buonanotte and a pigeon dan, which means live 100 years.
Yes.
Well, Jeff's
Thanks,
got 3
guys.
left.
I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.